Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. Hello, is that Joey?
No, this is Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary. 1 second, honey. Hello, everybody. I'm not too sure what's happening here. I can't hear Chrism, so I'm not sure. Can you hear Chrism, Rosemary?
No, I was waiting for the ohm as soon as it said something to me, and I said, oh, here he comes. No, I haven't heard.
Okay, well, he's, I don't think he is on air. I'm just going over now, guys. We're having another Blog Talk drama. I'm going to go over to the chat room, live to the chat room. I'm logging in now. And, okay. Can anybody hear me? If you're there, Vicky, can you hear me? And can you hear Chrism? Okay. I am just going to assume that Chrism can't. Oh. Vicky is just saying yes. Don't hear. She doesn't hear Chrism. Okay. Well, that means that I'm the only one on air right now, people. So, I'm going to continue with the show, and hopefully Chrism will go away and come back again. Currently, Chrism is not being heard. Rosemary.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Chrism. Okay, Rosemary, can you go and tell Chrism he's not been heard on air?
Okay, call him on the phone. You mean his phone?
Yes,
okay.
Please
yeah,
do.
Okay. Yeah, bye.
Thank you. So what I'm doing here is I am trying also to send him signals by putting him in the blue. Okay, so what I'll do to begin with is I am going to give you the place that you can go to if you would like to make a donation to the work that Chrism does. As you know, Chrism doesn't charge for his teachings, and he does this work 24/7. So he's actually he's dependent really on donations to pay the bills and to do. Chrism.
Hello. Yeah, calling in.
You?
I'm calling in. That's
okay.
right. I don't know what is going on here with Blog Talk.
Yeah, the minute
I'm in the studio, but it's not. I don't know what's going on, but the show is going. I know that.
Yeah, we've been live, and now there you go. So if you want to start with your own, we can begin proper.
All right, here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and this is your Kundalini Conversations with Chrism. This is a show about your Kundalini awakening experiences. Right now, we're having a few technical problems with the program. As you may have heard at the beginning of the show, the first 5 minutes have been kind of rough. So my apologies for that, but I think this format we can use. I'm on my cell phone, so we'll just see what we can do with this. All right, so here's the thing that's coming through for today's show, or at least part of today's show, is Kundalini is an all-consuming experience, 24/7, all the time. Now, there are times when a person is allowed to tend to the chores, to pay the bills, to get the kids, organized in their lives and what they're doing, to deal, to help with your spouse and to live the life of the human being. But Kundalini is always there. It's always awakened. It is always activated in the background, and it will seamlessly insert itself into your life, into your thinking, into your actions as you go through your life. And it's very important for people to understand that this is natural. This is normal. This is the way it needs to be. And it will continue to be that way, especially as you accept it. So as you accept the Kundalini and as you begin to understand its infiltration into what at one time was your egocentric life. And that's not such a bad word. I'm not trying to make the egocentric, phraseology a negative thing. It's where we all come from. All of us start out, when we come into the body behind the veil of forgetfulness, forgetting who we are, forgetting what we've done, forgetting where we've come from, forgetting all of that, so that we can come into this life sort of like a level of a clean slate as far as memory goes. And we come into this life as a baby and as an infant, and we have to develop that ego. That ego helps us to survive in this predatory world, and we have to learn how to crawl and learn how to say no and learn how to say mommy and daddy and all these things. And if you're having a childhood that is say quote unquote normal within the Western technological societies like Western Europe and United States, Canada, parts of Mexico, Australia, Japan, Russia, you learn these basic traits of as a child we learn how to say yes, how to say no, how to say mom and dad, all these things. And so this is the ego that is being developed. And so I'm not postulating that the ego and egocentrism is a bad thing. Basically what I'm saying is that just as we lose our baby teeth and are replaced with teeth, so do we lose our egocentrism, and it's replaced with a higher level of understanding, a higher level of divine authority, a higher level of transformation. And this new set of spiritual teeth, shall we say, comes with the Kundalini. A person can have an egocentric life for their entire life, for the next 10 lives, for the next 1,000 years, if you look at each life being 100 years. So for the next 10 lives, a person can live that egocentric life, in the way where they are, striving to get more, striving to be competitive, striving to be right, striving, to have pleasure, striving to all these different areas. And yet, that 11th life comes along and boom, the Kundalini awakens and boom, the new spiritual teeth begin to emerge. And these spiritual teeth, are the higher understandings for the ego that has, lived that thousands of years, in a very specific way, and now is being forced to change. And that part of that change is living the life that is shared with the divine force that resides within you. Much of this week, or at least I think much of the last day or two, I have been posting a lot on the various groups about going within and seeking the kingdom and the treasures within us. And this is so true. This really, really is the truth. You're constantly finding everybody around you looking outside themselves. They're looking at Jesus or Buddha or Allah, and they're just going far away outside. Oh, I have my spirit animal. Oh, I've got my spirit guide. Oh, I've got my angels this. Oh, I've got my, all of these types of things that are outside of ourselves. And it's very important, I think, for people to begin to understand that none of none of that really matters right now within the Kundalini context. What really matters is what is within yourself. Now, yes, I understand that the Kundalini has a positive and negative pole, and just like electricity, when the positive and the negative join each other, a great circuit is completed. But you're in the process of completing that circuit if you haven't come into the complete divine merge yet. And so as you come into that complete divine merge, well, you're taking through different steps and different levels of understandings that allow you to employ, that divine merging. And it looks like I'm here on the chat room right now, and it looks like people are there. Hello, Michelle and Vicky, Lena Seeker. It's good to see you all there. Thank you for coming. Sorry about the beginning. But as you're working through your Kundalini merging, and by merging I mean, as I started out with this part of the monologue, is having the Kundalini with you 24/7, having it communicate to you in the ways that it does, not with words, but in the way that it compels you to have certain understandings, in the way that it compels you to act a certain way, in the way that it gives you certain conduits of information and certain conduits of experience. And this is 24/7, all the time. Now the ego, our birth ego is what I'll call it, the BE, our birth ego, is sometimes slow on the uptake. Sometimes slow, and it doesn't understand all the time exactly what is written, and so or what is told to it by the Kundalini, and so the person makes mistakes, and you just want to forgive yourself, self-correct, and move forward. Don't get so hung up on making the mistake. Oh my God, I made a mistake. The Sacred Mother. Oh my God, what do I do? Eat the pistol. No. You just forgive yourself and you move forward, because that's what we do. That is how we learn. When you're the baby, you're learning to walk. Well, sometimes you fall. That doesn't mean that you kill yourself because you fell. You just get back up and you correct that balance. Well, it's the same thing with the Kundalini. And so as the birth ego is struggling to learn how to cooperate and to surrender its sense of pleasure, sense of self-worth, its sense of self-control, its sense of its own identity. And as the birth ego is really struggling to transform those areas, well, certain mistakes will be made, and this is to be forgiven. This is to be moved forward through. But as you do move forward through it, you will find that the Kundalini is very, very compassionate, very, very understanding, very kind and considerate, and very much the Sacred Mother that the Shakti really is, the Shakti being the feminine aspect of the Kundalini, the Shiva being the male aspect of the Kundalini. And I'm only using these Sanskrit Hindu terms because, first of all, they work, and second of all, you can just say sacred male, sacred female too if you want to go outside of any kind of a belief system construct. Jesus would be sacred male, Mary would be sacred feminine, Buddha would be sacred male, and Kuan Yin would be sacred female. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, throughout the many different belief systems. And so as we begin to make those changes and we begin to recognize that Kundalini is with us 24/7, well, it begins to really, at least for me, it was really an infiltrate into my mindset. I would think about it all the time. I didn't have children, did not have kids to distract me from this path. And I'm not saying that kids are the great distraction. We are all children of the divine feminine and the divine male. And so, if you have kids, it's a total blessing for you and a really beautiful, beautiful scenario. But for me, I didn't have these children. And so I was always Kundalini 24/7. It was always there for me. And in many ways, I was always working on it, always trying to find my balance within it, always understanding that I'd had this before, and, as a kid, having all the phenomena, and as an adult, having the same phenomena. It became a very, very extremely focused scenario for me. And I know that even, you look at Santara, she's got 6 kids, and yet she can still maintain this focus. But I've noticed that the Kundalini will allow you to shift your focus at certain times. So if your kids need a certain type of instruction or organization, or if your spouse needs a certain type of interaction, she is very, very open to you continuing your life through the birth ego, but through the transformation of the birth ego. And so as the birth ego goes through that transformation, she allows that ego to have specific understandings that will allow the consciousness and the activity of the individual to be in a constant level of fluctuation. So, the sine wave, the up and down line, right? Looks like a snake on its side. That's the sine wave. Well, so as the sine wave goes up, well, that's the insertion of the Kundalini, and as it comes down, that's its release and allowing the birth ego to organize the life in such a way that the Kundalini comes up again, and then it goes down again, and up and down and up and down. And what will typically happen is, as you begin to really incorporate the Kundalini transformation into your 5 bodies of awareness, of human activity, you'll find that the sine wave really begins to tighten up, and so that the ups and the downs become closer together and less elongated. And as they become closer and closer together, and the ups and downs are very, very close, and there's very little space between them, you'll find that those peaks and valleys begin to form a single line all by itself. The peaks and valleys become so compacted that they begin to form an expanded interaction with Kundalini, and that expanded interaction will typically develop through a spinal sweep or a merging with the divine, and a whole new line will be created out of the 2 lines. So one line being the Kundalini coming up, and the other line being the Kundalini coming down. Well, as they squeeze themselves into each other, those 2 lines form the 1 line, which corresponds with the 2 that are 1 and the 1 that is 2. Okay, the sacred 3, the 2 that form the 1, and the 1 that is born from the 2, so to speak. And this completes that circuit. And then once the circuit is completed, once that line is developed from the 2, well, then a whole new level of insertion of Kundalini into your life is given, and you're allowed to still live and work and be a part of this world. And I don't mean be a part, but to be interactive with this world as well. But your reasons for doing so are altered. Your reasons for being are altered. Once the divine consciousness has set into you, everything kind of takes on a different perspective. You begin to see the importance of all life around you, all creation. You begin to drift away from competing, say, one species of life creation against another species of life creation. You begin to understand that diversity is the rule, not the same. We are not all one, as so many of the New Age people would like us to think. We are diverse and we are similar at the same time. It's not one extreme or the other. It's both extremes at the same time. But they don't want that. They want the easy. Oh, we're one, and there they go. So I wanted this to, geez, yeah. BlogTalk is really messing up. Wow. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up, that this is cat mom, I see. Secret. I'm a cat dad, too. I'm a dog dad, too. I'm a turtle dad and a rabbit dad and a plant dad and a tree dad. I mean, come on, I'm a crawdad. I'm just reading from the chat room here. Elena says, I don't have human babies or human children, but I'm a devoted cat mom. So you've got to understand that as you're in a specific frequency of Kundalini, it's going to be on your mind a lot, and this is normal. This is natural. You'll feel it to be a normal thing. You'll be slipping into it all the time, and I don't want you to think that, oh my God, I'm being dominated, or I'm being, this is a possession or something like that. It's not that, because it's coming from within you. It's coming from that source of the divine within you at the base of your spine and infiltrating its way through the 7 chakra systems and into a development that is so pure, so beautiful, so amazing. I mean, if you look at the 7 chakras, well, you automatically start thinking of the 7 notes in a scale, and there's so many 7 scenarios that correspond with the chakras, the 7 fluids that make up the human reproductive fluids for the males, and 7 specific organs that are aligned up the spine to do 7 specific jobs that all merge into a harmonic convergence of dedicated transformation within the human being once the Kundalini, begins to activate itself within you. And so this is constantly something that is on your mind as you fixing the kids' lunch and sending them off to school. Well, you're fixing their lunch, but you're thinking about Kundalini things. You're thinking about perhaps forgiveness, perhaps tolerance. Perhaps you're putting love in a very Kundalini way into the food that you're packing for your kids. These are things that happen pretty constantly, and once the kids are off to school, and you're paying the bills, or you're going through what the birth ego would normally go through in order to live in society and sustain a person in society. Well, you're paying the bills, you're cleaning the house, you're doing the work, you're employed. But still, inside of the employment, your Kundalini is being thought of. Your Kundalini is being stretched. Your Kundalini is being exercised. The energy is not only coming up the spinal cord or Sushumna, but it's also coming up the Ida and the Pingala. And it's like dancing thermometers, so to speak. And what do I mean by dancing thermometers? Well, the mercury goes up and it goes down with the temperature changes, and that's, the mercury. Well, it's like you've got 3 thermometers inside of your energetic anatomy, and sometimes the male aspect will come up and you'll feel really hot. Sometimes the female aspect comes up, you'll feel really cold, and sometimes you'll have both of those going up and down at the same time that the energy is also traveling up and down the Sushumna or spinal cord. And so as you experience these dancing thermometers, you'll also experience the different levels of purity or purification that these dancing thermometers are exciting within the chakra system. So as you continuously navigate, through the merged existence with the birth ego and the Kundalini consciousness, each chakra is being excited by the Kundalini, and each chakra has representing within itself the 3 conduits of Kundalini energy going up the spine, typically up the spine. Sometimes it's down the spine from the top. And so each of these conduits, the Ida, the Pingala, the Sushumna, they go through each chakra system. And so, they'll go through chakra systems more than one at a time. We would only hope that it would go one at a time, that it'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but it doesn't do that. It'll go 1, 6, 2, 4, 3, 6, 1, 5. I mean, there are different combinations that deal with the different ramifications of different karmas that each person has. And it's a misnomer to think that once you have the Kundalini, that all your karma is taken care of. This is so not true. So not true. Your karma has been taken care of to a degree. But now, all the leftover karma, or at least as much as the divine wants you to take care of while you're having the Kundalini transformation, is brought into play. And so as you go through each of the 7 chakras with the Ida, the Pingala, and the Sushumna, you've got very specific levels of karma that are coming out of the chakra, blending, and so you'll have a karma coming out of your second and a karma coming out of your fourth, and there's a blending of these 2 karmic issues that you are there to resolve. And Kundalini is helping you resolve. See what I'm saying? And so it becomes a very intricate dance of the features of 7 centers of karmic development and the 3 conduits of Kundalini infusion going within the body. And then you have all the combinations of the different, you can have Ida going to the second, you can have Pingala going to the first, you can have Sushumna going through all the chakras and trying to piece them together, or you can have Sushumna falling all the way down to the first, or just going up to the second and providing power and the manipulation of the infusion in order to maintain a certain level of karmic redemption. Gets complicated, huh? I'm probably just listening to me. You guys are going, oh my God, stop. So yeah, it gets very, very complex. And this is why as you're going throughout your day, you're constantly kind of fixated, or you should be. I would recommend you to be constantly kind of fixated on the Kundalini and how it is you're fitting it into your life and what thoughts are coming to your mind, what levels of forgiveness are coming to your mind, what levels of anger, what levels of happiness, what levels of joy, what levels of judgment are coming up to you, and how can you redeem those qualities that allow them to harmoniously fit in to the energetics and the transformation that Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna are forming within each of the 7 chakras. What combinations of chakras are coming up within you? So let's just say a sacred feminine, Ida, is going into the first, the third, and the fifth. So you've got the first, you've got the primal activity of the Kundalini, you've got survival, you've got primordial fight or flee, you've got the basis, the foundation of security, food, water, health, things of that nature. This is all kind of represented by the first chakra. And then you go up to the third, you've got the cosmic male influence coming in, and the first trinity of, that's the Trinity chakra. So you have the 1, 2, 3, there's the Trinity, and then it deals with the cosmological or the cosmic infusion of that which is above coming into us and joining with that which is within us at the base of the spine, merging into that chakra. And then, we've got the fifth, and we've got the communication, and we've got the detoxification, and we've got, all the different levels of communication, and there's so many. God, I could just go the entire show. I could barely scratch the surface on the levels of communication that the fifth chakra represents. And so, you have these 3 chakras, lit up by the sacred feminine being the Shakti. She's coming into these chakras, and she's forming, at the same time she's forming new, shall we say, tendrils of communication with herself, with sacred femininity. At the same time she's doing that, she's also arranging to have very specific levels of karmic redemption occur, continuing along the redemptive line of karmic balancing, from previous experiences or from the experience in this life. And so, it gets very, very complex. And so you think about it all the time. And she comes to you and she gives you a compelling thought or a compelling feature of your day about how you might be feeling, and then at the same time that that all of this chakra work is going on and all of this infusion work is going on. Well, you've also got the birth ego going, WTF? I just want a pair of new shoes. If you're Amelia's ego, I just, God, look at those sparkly shoes over there. I want those. Am I right, Centaura? So I want to introduce my co-host here, and I'm not sure I can do it, but I'll try. Centaura, are you able to come on? Are you busy?
Hi, Chrism.
Oh,
I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. My studio is not working at all. So just an FYI. It says that I'm on, but it won't let me bring you on or do anything else. Looks like I'm kind of messed up here. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. You're just on the phone though. You're not on as the host.
No, it says you're not connected. It says you're not connected. That's what it's telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta love
I don't know what happened there.
Love that. Yeah. Weird.
Well, I laughed out loud. I laughed out loud at the shoe thing.
Well, that's true.
Because you're right.
The birth ego is going, oh my God, I just need, I need a new pair of shoes amidst all of this, this work. It's just, sometimes you want to just sit back and have an ice cream.
Well,
it's not...
ego. Yeah, it's not that I need, it's I want.
Well, there's that. Yeah, I understand.
Ego wants, not need.
Yeah, that's true enough.
I remember one time, very loud there suddenly, like you're walking in wind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're doing stuff.
I get that from you as well.
I wonder is it just our connection? Maybe I'll go off, Chris, and let me go blue.
No. Anyway.
No, it's still there, Chrism. Whatever
all right,
it is.
Great. Thank you. Whatever. Okay. We'll just deal with it. So... I tell you what, God, I'm just going to forget about it.
I just fixed it. For some reason, Katie had come on spontaneously.
I'm just going right off of the whole studio. I'm not even going to bother with the studio right now.
Well, you can't, man.
Okay.
It's fine. I think what happened was Katie came on and she's in the car. It sometimes spontaneously puts people in and out. It's fine. The sound is fine now.
Okay. All right. So anyway, do you find yourself constantly thinking about the Kundalini?
Oh, yeah, Chrism, 24, I mean, all the time. Non-stop. There's always some aspect of what I'm doing as I'm living my life. It's just Kundalini all the time, yeah.
Yeah, it's Kundalini. Wherever you look, because we're so connected to our senses, our sense of smell and hearing and vision and touch and taste. Everything that we sense runs through this sieve of Kundalini. You know what a sieve is? No?
Let me think. I think I have one in my kitchen, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it runs through the sieve of Kundalini, and so it's a constant level of thought, and this is something for people to really begin to understand. This is something that the birth ego has to get really, really behind, and it does. It's almost a seamless type of gravity that pulls the birth ego into the arms of the Sacred Mother. and begins, its detoxification, begins its purification, begins its transformation into the higher level of what we might say the divine ego, or at least, from the Huna standpoint, from the Unihipili to the Uhane, the higher mental function and consciousness, and something that is supportive of the Kundalini, but not something that is so supportive that it goes into, shall we say, competition. Some of the old things that the ego likes to do is to go into competition. Oh, I'm more spiritual than you, or I've got more Kundalini than you, or things of that nature. That's one of the areas that it could fall into. Even as it's embracing the Kundalini, well, it falls back into some of its own old mannerisms, and we do want to avoid that. So yeah, constantly think about your Kundalini. I know one of the people listening here has these very, very beautiful wild parrots that come to them, and you can look at that wild parrot. I forget what it's called. Very, very beautiful wild parrot, and so brilliant are the colors, and this is what's happening to you with the Kundalini. You're being vivified to such a huge degree that you've got to begin to really accept the changes that are taking place, the changes that are being asked of you. And some of you have a flesh teacher and some of you don't. I'm going to suggest that those who have a flesh teacher are going to be moving a bit faster through this. Not everybody, but if you add it all up together, because you're getting information that corroborates what your Kundalini is already telling you, but it's also going straight into the birth ego and beginning to move the birth ego into a position of acceptance and surrender and basic levels of being submissive to the Kundalini, being extremely submissive. And the whole submissive word is such a hard word for us to hear in the Western societies, because it has that BDSM type of thing. What is it? It's bondage. It's BDSM, bondage. I forget what the D is. Sadomasochism or submissive masochism, something like that. But some sort of a weird, kind of a circuit, a weird cross-circuiting of the sexual desire and certain forms of pain or submission being given to a person, to a group. And this is not that. And yet this is that at the same time. This is you giving yourself to the Kundalini. If you have a flesh teacher, you're giving yourself to the Kundalini within that flesh teacher, not specifically to the personality, but to the Kundalini within that flesh teacher, and you're not allowed to say no. You're not allowed to say no. And Michelle Ranger is telling us the kind of parrot that I was mentioning, and it's a Rosella parrot, Rosella. Look that up on Google and look at the image of that bird. It's so beautiful. It's like a bird of paradise. Anyway, so you're not allowed to say no to the Kundalini. And even if you think your Kundalini is saying yes, well, if you've been assigned a teacher, you're not allowed to say no to the Kundalini and the teacher. But people do. People do, and they're steadfast in the no, the line in the sand. No, I won't do this, or no, I won't say that, or no, 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 and they find some way to fit it in to the psychology, the Kundalini psychology that they're having at the moment. But you got to remember, the Kundalini psychology is constantly changing. It's like, you might say, it's the Kundalini psychology du jour, like the soup du jour. It's the KP du jour, and that will constantly be shifting. But part of the reason why you don't say no is because you're in constant levels of surrender. You're in constant levels of devotion. You're in constant levels of giving yourself to the teacher and to the Kundalini at the same time. And And so it becomes a very, very strong and difficult test for the birth ego, because the birth ego is always going, well, I'm, never say sir to any man. I'm always independent. I'm always there. I'm strong. I don't need anybody's help. I don't need to be guided or directed or any of this thing. I can just do it all myself, and I don't need anybody's help. And yet Kundalini is going, well, maybe that's not quite right. And she goes ahead and begins to correct you. And it's important to go with that correction. It's important that you don't try to hide anything from the Kundalini or from your teacher. You must be willing to expose all of your secrets, all of the issues, all of your life, all of everything that comprises who you are. You must give that. You must give that. Let me see if I can fix this here. You know what I mean, Santara?
Do, Chrism, yeah. I do know what you mean. Having been,
You've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
You know that this is the big release of the birth ego's control, and yet, we still want to hang on to that control. Have you noticed?
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes round in loops and circles, and, you do so much and back it comes again. So I think that's one of the great things about having a teacher is that, you don't get to hide that so much, really.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's easy to fool yourself.
Yeah.
It's easy to fool yourself, and it's easy, the birth ego gets a hold, and it's partway into the Kundalini at a certain moment. We'll say the sine wave is maybe still a little wide, not quite so close together, and it's still being given an opportunity to make choices and decisions, and it says no. It says no, I won't do this, or no, I won't do that. I'm totally not going to stop coloring my toenails. Let's just use that as an example. And it said, no, I'm going to continue to color my toenails, even though the Kundalini and the teacher's saying, please stop coloring your toenails. Stop painting on each toenail in different colors. And I'm just using you as an example. Amelia doesn't, you color her toenails with the Irish flag in different colors. It's all the same color.
I think people know what you're saying, Chris.
I don't know what Thomas G is posting. Some guy that's smoking. I'm not quite sure if he's smoking a cigarette or what that means. Let's see if I can get that meaning. No, I don't see what that meaning is. Well, Thomas, I see your little smoking.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I suppose it's just, we struggle with the ego. So, the control of the ego is removed. It's sidelined through surrendering to the teacher.
Sure. It's easier and harder at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's when you do that, it's you can go further and further into surrender to the Kundalini as well. So, it's a great gift if you've been given a teacher to work with, and if a teacher works with you. It makes a big difference in my experience. It's interesting too because, like you were talking a while ago about the BDS or BSD and all of that, but we are actually dominated by the Kundalini. That's just the way it is. Once the Kundalini is with us, and it's a matter then of whether we can give ourselves into that or not, whether we resist it, even if we sometimes don't, we don't even know that that's going on sometimes. But I think that's fair to say we are dominated by the Kundalini, Chrism.
Well, yeah, and that leads into it's a great segue, what you just said, into the next portion of the topic that I want to talk about is when the Kundalini completely takes over the body for short periods of time. And I wrote about this yesterday on some of the Facebook groups. And it's about having your breath literally taken away so that you're not breathing anymore. Let's just say you're breathing underwater, but you're not breathing. Your body may feel like it's breathing, but water's not entering the lungs. You're not coughing, you're not spasming, and in some cases you're not breathing at all. You're just laying there, and the breath is gone, and there is no problem with that. She has taken over that part of the body. The lungs, she can stop your heart. I know people that have had their hearts stopped, and they don't die, and they're not in pain, they're not having a heart attack, they're not having any of these things. And this is really a kind of a jolt of totalitarianism that the Kundalini can have over your body. And she, in many cases, she will push it outside the limits of science and outside the limits of physics and into that of the miraculous, as least as far as our understandings of science and physics are concerned. I mean, it's way outside the box. When your heart stops, you're just supposed to die. When you stop breathing, you're just supposed to suffocate and die. And if she stops your heart and you're breathing at the same time, well, you should be dead 2 times over. And yet you're not. You're not. Because she, the Sacred Mother, and sometimes in tandem with the Sacred Father, come in and stop the heart, stop the lungs, and let you feel what it's like to be in total trust and total domination by the divine forces of Kundalini. Think about that. I was breathing underwater when I was a kid, and I didn't stop doing that until I was told that I wasn't supposed to be able to do that. See, Inara likes that.
Oh, hi, Inara. She barely said hi, but that way. That's cool.
So, and this is happening to people all the time. This is I'm not Mr. Joe Special. This happens to people that I know. And I've done seminars, in the Minnesota. I've done a lot of the seminars in Minnesota lately. And there have been at least 2 people that have stepped forward and said, yeah, I was able to do that too. Now, no, we're not going out there with a stopwatch and, sticking a thermometer up somebody's rear end and trying to make scientific measurements and scientific methods of proving that, okay, they're not breathing right now, and, okay, the heart is not beating right. We're not doing that. We don't need to do that. Only scientists need to do that. When they want to prove something that they can't do themselves, they want to compartmentalize it into weights and measurements. Kundalini doesn't care anything about that. Not at all. That's why you get an awakened Kundalini master or somebody who's really got the Kundalini going, and you set them in front of a trio or a whole panel of scientists, and nothing happens. Kundalini is not the latest game show for scientists, and with the violence of our scientific community is so violent. They will take a beautiful, beautiful butterfly that is almost extinct and kill it, and then calling it sacrificed for science. Okay. And they've taken that beautiful life form off of this world. Well, what do you think they do to a Kundalini person? Oh, you're Master Chrism. Oh, let's see. And inside their head, they're going, I wonder what makes him tick. Let's see. I think we could take his head off and still keep the rest of his body going, or we could take them both off and then measure them and weigh them and then dissect them. So, and you think I'm just being funny? Well, these people think that way. They have absolutely no care or concern for life as the Kundalini knows life to be, or the creation of life, and the Thomas G is saying humanistic ways. It's pathetic, and so of course the Shakti's not going to be showing off for the scientific panel of levitation. She's not going to be, oh, okay, yeah, I see that all the scientists are there, and they all have their little birth ego hang-ups and judgments and competitions and need for grants and money, and none of them are being, really honest with themselves or each other, haven't faced any of their karma, very little of it, and, they're all there to just compete, and whose ego gets to be the greatest voice within the group. And no, I'm not going to allow my person to be levitated, or to have the heart stop, or have the respiration stop, or to commit levels of telepathy or psychometry or telekinesis. None of this stuff. It's just you're gonna sit there on that chair and get bored. That's what's gonna happen. Constantly, I get this. It's just like, well, and I got this in response to the post that I wrote about breathing. That I basically said you don't need to breathe in order to live. The Kundalini will give you the energy that your body requires in order to live without breathing a single breath. And one guy or a couple of people wrote, make a live video, put a bag over your head and show us. Basically, these are the people that come from the scientific modality. And and I've been people say, oh, that's absolutely I forget what they called it, something akin to bullshit. And I totally get that. I understand how people can respond that way. I'm compassionate for that type of thinking, because it is a very hard stretch for people to understand. But until you've actually felt it, it's going to be hard for you. Until your heart has stopped or your breathing has stopped, then it's going to be hard for you. And I think Michelle may have experienced that. I think she wrote extensively about that on that thread yesterday. And so, people have this occur. It's just that Kundalini doesn't come to very many people. And so, and we're not putting it on the game show circuit or the talk show circuit or let's do special thing type of television show. It's not happening there. And so people are not coming into a level of conscious understanding that this is the truth. And they won't. And, not everybody is to have the Kundalini. Now, you can have it taught in the school system that there is a possibility that people have this limitless ability to express divinity into the physical environment. But until that starts to be taught in the schools, then people aren't really going to know about it. Places like India, though, where it has been part of the lexicon, even the word Kundalini is a Sanskrit word, which is a precursive language to the Hindu language. They know about it, and even then, because of the infiltration by the British, for I think like at least 100 or 200 years, they're so steeped in scientific methodology that they even begin to doubt their own oral history and their own oral understandings of that history, which Kundalini is a big part of. But as far as a society that knows of the word Kundalini, India is ahead of a lot of the countries on this world, certainly ahead of the United States, probably of some other countries as well, with regards to the acceptance and the understanding that there is something called Kundalini, and it is stored within the human, and after a certain amount of karmic redemption, it comes forward. They know this. Most of them, I should say. Maybe not most, but a good portion of the population of India understands this. And God bless India. far as I'm concerned. But the shamans also know about this. And the Hindu belief system is basically a shamanic belief system. They're using monkeys, they're using elephants, they're using serpents. And Thomas says those teachings are still being taught in Hindi tradition, but probably not the Sanskrit tradition. Probably not from within the levels of what the rishis were talking about or writing about in the Rig Veda and the Samaveda and some of the other Vedic writings. But still, I mean, Thomas is correct. These teachings are still being taught in some fashion within the current traditions of India. But it's also being taught in tribes in the Amazon basin and shamans in Siberia and Native Americans in the United States and Canada. And, all peoples have an understanding about the Kundalini. They just don't call it the same thing. The Chinese call it the Greater Kunalini. The Tibetans, for the Tibetans, it's a form of Tumo, and on and on and on and so forth. I think the ancient Egyptians would call it Ka or Ka, and so on and so forth from the different levels. I know that in the English translation for some of the Amazon tribes, they call it the red serpent energy because the first chakra is so red, and people often see serpents, when the first chakra is being stimulated. So yeah, I mean, within the societies that dominate our current culture, certain levels that are being given, but won't be given in the Western technological societies because they don't conform with scientific methodology. And so, in a way, we're way behind some of the other cultures.
Can I ask a question?
Well, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry.
Even though it's not a competition, nobody's racing, but it would be, I think, very helpful for the evolution of this planet to begin to accept the Kundalini as a fact in whatever name it's called. I mean, like Shakespeare said, a rose by any other name still smells as sweet. And, I don't think, it needs to be called Kundalini all the time. It can be called Greater Kunalini. It can be called Red Serpent Energy. It can be called Tumo. It can be called Lung. It can be called any of the names that it's called by any of the societies in this world. But it just needs to be incorporated into the current societal framework. Go ahead with your question, Santara.
It's around what you're saying there. I mean, we look back on, we say the Indian or the Egyptian societies, and that we say the Indian society knew Kundalini or the Egyptians did under another name. And I'm thinking, well, like the Egyptian society was full of slaves. There was a huge dominance and submissive society there. And it's the same with the Indian culture, the caste system, the corruption of all of that. How can we say that they understood Kundalini in those contexts?
Well, they did. I mean, the karma of that society needed to go through. You got to remember what a slave is. A slave is a king or a queen in training. A slave is one of the most powerful positions a person can be in within spiritual development. A slave is completely surrendered. A slave is openly, basically, at the mercy of spirituality, of karma, and it's God. You've got to understand that being a slave is one of the most powerful things for development that a person can become, especially within the Kundalini. And so, you have let's just take the Egyptians. You have the Egyptians, you have the Israelites, they were enslaving the Israelites. And the Israelites were not only being allowed to prosper spiritually, even though it's a very painful existence, they're being allowed to prosper spiritually and burn a lot of karma, there's a certain karma within different societies of the world. So, for instance, Germany, World War I, World War II, they have a very specific karma to them. The Israelites also had a very specific karma within the ascension of the Egyptian society. And, now Egypt also has a very, very specific level of karmic redemption that they need to go through and that they will go through. Nobody gets to avoid being a slave. We are all slaves to the Kundalini, all of us. And so to look at a society that is using slaves and it still has a level of understanding about Kundalini, well, you don't want to fall into judgment. That's just making the same mistake they made. They fell into judgment with that, and they, and they also fell into some of the lower vibrational occult sorcery-based systems of material manipulation, and that corresponded with their religious belief system and so on and so forth. And so they also had that to pay for with regards to how they inflicted that on other people, such as the Israelites and some of the other, I think the Sumerians also had a very steep karma to pay for, and so on and so on. The Romans, so everybody, all the societies, they go through this. This is the rock polishing. So once again, you don't want to judge what a slave is within the Kundalini context. Within the Kundalini context, a slave is a person that's getting rid of their karma, and by getting rid of that karma through that position in life, they are indeed championing the Kundalini within themselves to a very strong degree. Not saying it's pleasant, not saying it's socially acceptable, certainly not, but there is a goodness to it, Amelia. Now, if you look at it from the birth ego position, oh my God, it's slavery, and the birth ego is going, oh hell no, hell no. And so, you look at it from the birth ego perspective, and there is no redeeming quality. There is no redeeming value. And it's just a horrible, horrible disposition for any people to have to go through it. And it's something to be totally, totally ignored. Or not ignored, but to, stay away from that, right? Can I hear an amen?
Yeah. Amen. Sure, absolutely.
But can you understand the other side of that coin?
I can, and I guess I can't. I can from certain perspectives, absolutely. I understand how the slave can be absolutely can bring karmic redemption. I totally understand that, and I understand if a slave is conscious of it or is voluntarily doing that within the context of their spiritual development, or within the context even of their physical development or their physical life.
Well,
without
spiritual and physical are all the same within the manifestation of a life that is pronounced karmic redemption. So if you're born into a slave body or a body of a slave, well then, that most of your life is going to dance around the idea of karmic redemption. Totally.
Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. I'm gone now. What was I saying? It's gone. Well, it wasn't no, I get that. But I suppose people can be slaves and it can be karmic, but they're not consciously aware.
Well,
when you're aware, it makes a difference. That's what I'm trying to say.
Let's look at our economic system. Everybody is working for money. So everybody in the Western society, shall we say, are slaves to money, are slaves to the fear of loss and the want of gain. They are slaves to these qualities of life where you have to have money. I mean, even at the beginning of the show, you were saying, Chrism's got to eat and all this stuff, and he does. And so even to that degree, I'm also a slave to the material ideologies, the material economy of the United States, the Western technological countries. And so, this world is full of slaves. It may not be whips and chains. It may not be whips and chains.
Sure, but I understand that. But we're probably. I think, yeah. I do. Are they the same thing though, Chrism? I mean, really. I mean, we can say we are slaves. We can. Really.
Absolutely. Totally.
So
the whips and chains. Oh. The whips and chains may not be present, but try going homeless for 10 years, Amelia. Try not having what you currently have, and the only reason you're not having it is because you don't have the money to buy it, or the ability to make the money to even have a crumb of bread. Try that and tell me we're not slaves to our economic-based society.
I'm not arguing that at all, Chrism. I'm just not.
What are you
I'm
arguing?
just saying it's not. I'm saying it's a poor comparison to people who are in a slave, physical whips, chains, not allowed
Really?
any freedom, that sort of thing. Well, I think
you
so.
Think it's a poor comparison. Wow.
I do.
Okay. Well, you're allowed. Yeah. So from the perspective that I'm being given, this world is. And even the creatures, the creatures have to live off of each other. Life eats life, and so everything here is designed around the understanding that one form of life will be submissive and yet supportive of another form of life. And with the economic standards, the way we have accepted. I mean, you got to remember, I was born into this society, and so I also accepted, the constraints that this society was giving, and I accepted the chain around my neck, the yoke around my neck, and I accepted the fact that I had to be a farmer for 14 years and to work in the medical community for another number of years, and to work in the hospitality industry for another number of years, and to, so on and so forth throughout my life. I've had to do this work in order to make money, in order to pay rent, in order to have food, in order to survive. And was I being whipped with chains? No. I was not being whipped with chains. I agree with you. But I was still enslaved. I was still told what to do. Okay, I was still told what to do. I did not have the freedom to do things the way I wanted to do them. I had to pay attention to the managers or the bosses or to the banks or to the I had to, as a farmer, you have to submit yourself to the weather. So in a sense, I feel that, Kundalini understands this. And so, the different societies of the past with regards to the Babylonians, the ancient Babylonians, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Akkadians, the ancient Sabians, the ancient Sumerians, all of these people had slaves, all of them. And in the Romans, if you were conquered by the Romans, then you could be taken as a slave. And I would say that most of the people that are coming into Kundalini have had the slave experience in their past lives. And that is a necessary level of total and complete submissive life that a person has to live as a slave is a very, very strong conduit of spiritual evolution within the individual. Very, very strong. And I won't say that it's absolutely necessary, but I won't say that it's not. If it was not absolutely necessary, then millions of people would not have to have it. And you may be saying to me right now, well, Chrism, millions of people don't have to have it today. Well, yes, they do. They just have it in a different form. Not the same thing, but it is the same thing. The Irish, speaking, going to Amelia's country, the Irish were the first Western American slaves. They were the first ones. The British, who dominated the Irish island, shipped off families of Irish people into Barbados and and the Eastern Caribbean in order to work as slaves in the sugar plantations. An Irish person was less valuable than a black person. Less valuable, meaning that, you know, if a black person cost a slave owner $5, the Irish person would cost $2. You know, and you know, of course, you know, I'm certainly not supporting slavery as a societal option, but I can see how it factors into spiritual development and Kundalini evolution. I think a person could have a slave life and develop strong levels of karmic redemption that would lead into Kundalini fruition in the next life.
Totally agree.
So, I'm losing people here on the chat room. They're just going, oh, man, forget this conversation. Talking about slaves. Anyway, do we have any questions?
Oh, my gosh, already? Oh, it's that time.
I don't even know what time it is.
I'm just looking.
Yeah.
It's actually 1:15 midnight. It's the time flew. Okay, I'm heading over, Chrism, to there. I'm going to go to the private question that came in first. And where is it? And I'm getting it now. So there was a few questions. A few questions came in. Okay. First question. Yesterday we had group meditation. I was giving Kundalini healing. I saw Ma Kali while giving healing to 4 persons present. One lady got into a trance state, but through fear came out of trance state. Was Goddess active yesterday?
What's the question?
Was Goddess active yesterday during this healing?
Goddess is always active. Always. This is what we've been saying. It's a great question that you asked. Goddess is never not active. Even in the unawakened, even in the people that are sleeping, Goddess is active in their redemption of their karma. Goddess is active in pushing them forward into their spiritual development. Let's be very clear about one thing. Spiritual development trumps every other development. Without using the T word, spiritual development is the most important level of development out of all the levels of development on this world and with human beings. Spiritual development is the main force of even having a body on this world. So Goddess is always active. And so was she active during that time? Yes, she was. Absolutely. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Okay, so the next question. Whenever I try to be celibate, some strange dreams occur. Yesterday in my dream, an Indian actress who was also in Hollywood appeared in my dream. I am not her fan. We had intercourse and she promised to return after 1 year. Was she related with Kundalini? Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna what? Assume that this person has Kundalini active or awakened within them?
Yes.
Is that the assumption?
Yes.
Okay.
That is true.
Yeah. This person could have, that could be the Shakti. Is this Shrikant?
Yeah.
I would have to say indeed that this would be the Shakti for him, and that he doesn't need to be celibate with her. Celibacy is one of those things that the priests of India, the priests of China, the priests of Tibet, some of the other priests kind of inflicted, the Catholic priests, even though they don't know what they're doing, inflicted upon the followers or the people that wanted to have a greater relationship with divinity, they don't understand it. And, they see it as, well, you just never, ever have sex again, no matter what. And that's not so true with the Shakti. Shakti will into your life, whether you like it or not. If you're a man, you will ejaculate. You'll have an orgasm. If you're a woman, you will have an orgasm. If the Shakti wants you to have it, you're going to have it. And sometimes, for the first and second chakras, you need that to happen. You need it to happen. And so I hope she does come back to him. I think that's a very, very, very positive experience. And even though, not so attracted, well, that's okay too. Because this is the way that was given for him to not totally fall in love with that Hindi actress or that Bollywood actress, but still be allowed to form that union with divinity. And so, yeah, and you can lose the fluid with that too, by the way. Remember, the fluid is typically a reusable resource. The sperm is reused. You can develop more, and sometimes you need to develop more. Sometimes the man needs to lose some of the seed in order for a new imprintation upon the genetic infrastructure of the sperm cell itself needs to take place. And so as you develop within your Kundalini, you develop a certain resonance with the sperm, and the old sperm needs to go. And typically that will go, say, through the urine, or if you have a wet dream or things of that nature, but also it will go through that type of an ethereal level of ejaculation, and this will work. This will work, and I don't think the person should be feeling as if they broke a rule because they weren't celibate. I don't think that they were arranging. I don't think that the person was staring at this Bollywood actress, and masturbating to her image at all. Shakti came to him that way, and Shakti arranged for the fluids to be given. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Are there any Kundalini symbols like Reiki symbols?
No.
And okay.
Wait.
Over.
Not like Reiki symbols. No, not at all. Reiki symbols are kind of they're just, they're more of a birth ego type of manipulation. Kundalini symbols would be the Ouroboros, the snake swallowing its own tail. Kundalini symbol would be the two circles that overlay each other, forming a third doorway. So one circle and then another circle going halfway into that first circle. That is also a Kundalini symbol. The caduceus is a Kundalini symbol. The staff with the serpents and the wings and the crown. That is a total Kundalini symbol. And so there are Kundalini symbols, but not along the lines of Reiki at all.
Okay.
Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. On the 25th of this month was the birth anniversary of my late mother. In a dream, I saw an earthquake happening. I wanted water, but had to collect myself from a well. There was a group of lions appeared. I was afraid and hid in a house. Are these Kundalini lions?
Yes.
Same person.
The birth ego will hide from that which is going to constitute extreme levels of change. And that's what she was doing. Over.
Okay, thanks, Chrism. Many people in India are disciples of Kathleen Milner. Is she Kundalini awakened, if you know of her?
No. No. I asked, and I got a big black and white No. Over.
Okay. Thanks, Chrism. Okay. So I have another question, but I'm going to go over to the ones from the group, and then I'll come back. Okay. Now, Chrism, today you made a statement, and this is what you said. You said, this group is not a support group for channelers or channeling, and it's not advised at all for Kundalini people. Channeling is an open door to possession. And somebody asked, could you explain why is it an opening invitation to possession? I don't understand, because that is how spiritual people get messages from the universe. Can you explain that part, please?
That's how channelers get their information from the universe. And they don't get their information from the universe. They get their information from whatever itinerant entity decides to come through them. So, no, channeling is the worst thing you can do, because you're basically being used as a condom for some entity that wants to come along and fill you with such.
Oh, it's just,
you're an entity condom.
That was unexpected. It's one of those things you do that gives me this visual video. Thank you.
Well, I mean,
yeah, I get it though. I mean, yeah, I think it's a
it's totally what it is. It's totally what it is. And what is it? Let's see. Entities, they develop a parasitical attachment to the corporeal human. Okay, so they will move to control what that human does, and the words that are spoken, and what they don't do. And one guy that I was working with, he was being parasitized by entities from Abraham Hicks, and these folks that have this, they're great channelers of like 1 billion entities, and those entities were telling him to press the gas pedal on his car all the way forward through stopped traffic in downtown Los Angeles, and he ran into a person. Yay channeling. This is the stuff that can happen to people, and this is what I said before. Great crimes have been committed because of channelers. Okay. It's most often a disaster because and the entities never pay the price for their misinformation or their corruption. Okay. Mass murderers and harm, and these are typically diagnosed by the medical community as schizophrenia, and these people are hospitalized. And I'm not saying that all discarnate entities are this way, but a great number of them are, and the human has very little ability to discern which ones are which. And so Kundalini people are best advised to ignore all entity communication and recognition. Over.
Chrism. Now, there was another question asked down further, and I'm going to ask it for people who might wonder the same thing.
Sure. Go ahead.
So, permission is given for a spiritual being to enter in and control the body. Oh, no, that's what you said. Sorry. Vincent asked a question. He said,
Vincent. Okay.
Yeah, it was a question, though, about giving permission to whomever to come into you and control you. Is that always true? Or can some entities just do it without your consent?
Well, did you have consent when your entity came to you a few months back?
No, and I mean, okay, so let me just expand on that. I did not.
Right there.
Yeah,
they do not always need permission. They do not. They can just jump right in, and if the Shakti has something for you to learn by being possessed by an entity, well, then you get to learn that. whether you like it or not, whether you gave permission or not.
Yeah, it's the Kundalini is in control of that Chrism, isn't it? I mean, she allows it, if not more strongly than that. I mean, she sets it up, doesn't she?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. She does.
Okay. Thank
Definitely.
you.
Definitely.
And the other question then...
Go ahead.
The other question then was about, you know, is it letting another spirit control you, or is it also telepathic communication? And can you also speak a bit about karmic entities, Chrism?
Oh, ask me the whole thing again.
Okay. So the question is about the definition of channeling. Is it letting another spirit control you, or is it also telepathic communication?
Well, it's both. I mean, you know, they control you through telepathic communication. They possess you. They move your arms. They move your face. They move your tongue. They move your mouth. They move your eyes. They possess you. What is the definition of possession? Your body becomes theirs for a period of time. You're off in La La Land somewhere. Okay? Very much the same thing that mediums do in South America. Okay? The entity comes in and possesses your body. It moves your body where it wants to move your body. It causes you to paint your face like the Joker from Batman and start collecting guns and then walk into a theater and start shooting people. The entity does that. Or, conversely, it occupies the body and it commits levels of healing upon individuals like John of God in Brazil. John of God's not doing that. The entity is doing that, or at least trying to. So, it owns your body for that moment in time, and you don't. And it doesn't matter whether there is telepathic communication or not. Definitely not. I mean, once that parasite is inside you, it speaks through you. There's no telepathy there. It's speaking using your voice, using your tongue, through you to other corporeal people. Over.
Okay, so moving away from that subject then. Can I activate my Kundalini without a teacher, because I have not any teacher here for guidance and I want to activate it by meditation?
Kundalini is the ultimate teacher, so you're never without a teacher. You may not have a corporeal teacher or a physical teacher, but Kundalini is the ultimate teacher. I didn't have a teacher, and she came to me. So I can only assume that if your karma is ripe for the Kundalini to come to you, then you can activate it through meditation. Yes. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. There's two other meditation questions. Whenever or wherever I meditate, I hear the sounds of lizards and sometimes birds. Is there any relation to our meditation?
Oh, yeah. If you're hearing the sounds of nature, that's the sound of Shakti.
Okay. And the other question is meditation for people with anxiety. I've read a few articles. However, I'm interested in hearing what people would recommend in this group. Can you speak of that, meditation for people with anxiety?
Hang on a second. There's a couple of ways. Really hard work as a meditation. Getting your hands in the soil, shoveling that garden, really working a lot in the garden, planting things of that nature can really take out the excess energy that is causing people levels of anxiety and transmute that extra energy that causes anxiety into a positive flow of grounding, but also of energetic application. there's that. The other one could be just a very, very strong level of aerobic exercise that, once again, uses the excess energy that is causing the anxiety, or, in the case of a Kundalini person, the adrenaline that the adrenals are putting out through their transformation and expansion, and giving a good level of exercise to the entire body by virtue of the adrenaline that is causing the anxiety in the first place. The other thing is to follow the breath. Just allow the breath to be slow and deep. Purse your lips like you're whistling, and if your nose is stuffed up, you can't breathe through your nose, then just breathe through the pursed lips. If your nasal passages are clear, then just breathe through the nasal passages very slow and very deep, and that anxiety will go. But I got to tell you that Kundalini activation and awakening will leave a patina of energetic upon the body itself, so inside and out. And so you'll find that the muscles are hyper, almost electrified to some degree, the muscles in the back, the muscles of the shoulders, the muscles of the chest, because the energy is present, tightness to the muscles constantly. The kriyas, may come from that as well. But there is a level of tenseness to all the muscle groups within the body, whether or not you're sleeping or you're awake or you're working or you're relaxing. The tension is there within the body because of the high voltage levels of Kundalini. And the Kundalini itself understands this and knows this, and this is normal. And your body will slowly acclimate to that, and your anxiety will begin to diminish. Over.
Can I say something about the breath, Chrism? Because
sure.
Something that, with anxiety, your breath can become hyper, I suppose, short and shallow. So if that's happening, you can actually focus on the out breath. If you focus on the out-breath, then the in-breath takes care of itself. So by not breathing in, deeply, but by pushing the breath out and then allowing the breath to come in, that can really help with reestablishing a slower breath rate. So blow out and allow the in-breath to take care of itself out through the mouth, and then close the mouth and allow the breath to come back in through the nose, and it can really help.
The good old in and out.
Well, yeah, but focus on the out breath. No, it makes a huge difference. I know from my anxiety.
That's fine. I support it.
Try it, actually, and if people want to try it, it's really interesting.
You're missing my joke. But it's okay.
Oh, I am. Say it again.
I'm good with it.
I hate missing jokes. Okay.
You'd have to watch A Clockwork Orange.
Oh, well, then I wouldn't get it. It's not one of my. Yeah. I'd have missed it anyway. I didn't hear you. Okay, so the next question, Chrism, is I have been having incidents since my first pregnancy 20 years ago. I thought originally it was sleep apnea, and I do have CPAP. However, every so often I'm still gasping for breath, and I pop up into a sitting position from lying. Is this Kundalini? After having a spiritual cleanse with a Sangoma, in this first time, I had episodes while using the CPAP machine, along with someone speaking through me. The voice was gurgling, out a name came. I also have seen someone else in the mirror. My eyes would change. Is that part of Kundalini?
Oh my God, you're an alien. You're an alien, and it.
Prism. Poor person.
I think the person is there. I think to watch the eyes change. Now, if it's changing color, that's one thing. But if the eyes are changing into something else, well, that's another thing. And if it's changing into something else, there's probably a level of possession taking place. So, I would look at your thoughts and your feelings and, how are you feeling about Kundalini? Are you happy with it? Are you changing your morality? Are your ethics staying very positive and noble in the noble behaviors? Are you more forgiving, more tolerant, more loving, more understanding, more communicative, more disciplined, more tolerant? Are you moving into that direction? And you can basically kind of get an idea how you feel about those qualities will determine whether or not the Kundalini is actually coming into you or you're being kind of occupied by something else. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. Chrism, I can't hurt other people after my Kundalini experience, so I'm taking
They can't
the
what?
hurt.
They can't what with other people?
They can't hurt. H-U-R-T.
Oh, hurt. Thank you.
Hurt. I can't hurt other people after my Kundalini experience, so I am taking the hurt. Is this normal? Or standing up, is that normal? What's the balance?
Well, the person is still engulfed in the ego if they feel like they're being hurt at all. With Kundalini, and the initial stages of enlightenment, these things don't really bother you anymore. So if you're being hurt, then you're still tying yourself to the birth ego, and you're still kind of voluntarily falling into victimization. Oh, I'm being hurt. Oh, I'm taking the hit. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, I'm so painful. And all of this stuff, instead of just giving yourself entirely to the Kundalini and not letting any of that stuff matter to you anymore. Instead of fighting back, you're just turning yourself into a victim. Which is the same thing, really. Victim and attacker are basically, two horns on the same goat. Over.
Can I sort of stay with that, please?
If you want, sure.
Please, yeah, I get it. But if I am in that place where I am still feeling the hurt, how do I, but I think I'm not because I don't want to hurt somebody. I'm at a particular juncture, I assume, in my journey. So what do I actively do around that to help myself move toward what you're talking about?
You forgive them, and you move on. You forgive them and you move on, and you don't go, oh, you hurt me. You don't do that. Okay.
So
you
even if
forgive
you're
them
saying it to yourself,
and then move on, even if they're in the wrong. You forgive them.
And if you're saying it to yourself, it's still being hurt, isn't it? Just because you don't
if
fight
you still
back.
Identify, if you still identify, it's just like kind of like masturbating, the victimization of what is happening to you by virtue of being attacked. I don't fight back, but I don't fight back anymore. It's like, no. Not only do you not fight back, but you don't even enter into the fight. It's not even part of your reality anymore. You don't even really pay attention to it. You just glissando, that's a musical term, but you just glissando right out of it. It's not, and you just forgive them. You realize that many, many, many adults are just infants in adult bodies, emotionally speaking, and they're going to have their outbursts of anger and abusiveness, and this is just a fact of life. Mm-hmm. And that you, as a Kundalini activated and awakening individual, you do not need to dive into that game. You do not need to dive into that interaction. You do not need to even really listen to them with any kind of seriousness. You don't need to do that unless you do. And if you do, then you're not fully detached from the situation. You're on the other horn of the same goat.
Yeah. Okay, Chrism. So so forgiveness is the thing. Immediate forgiveness without having to kind of go back into any of it. You just go into forgiveness.
You just forgive it. Yes, it's
and
like,
that's it.
oh,
Yeah.
here so let me go to the chat room here. I'm going to use somebody there. Let's see. Oh, there's a Vicky. Vicky does something to me. Yeah, it's a little shit. And not that Vicky's doing that. She's not doing that, but I'm just using Vicky as an example. You're not Kunalini. You don't know anything that you're talking about. You know. Mm-hmm. La, 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 la. You know, and so I'm hearing this, and I just, first thing I do is I focus more on my Kundalini than on the words I'm hearing. And because I love Vicky, she's a dear friend of mine, blah, 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 and I know that she's just kind of, she sent me a happy face. You know, and so I just kind of like realized, oh, okay, outgassing. She's outgassing. And I just got to let her outgas. And oh my gosh, I forgive her. I love her. She's the best person in the world. She just has to have this moment of volcanic outgassing. And without saying it to her face, she said, you go, girl. You go. Let it out. And you just kind of nod your head and you accept it, but you're not really inside of the game, you see. In order to be hurt, you've got to give permission to yourself to be hurt. If you're in the Kundalini, you're not giving yourself permission to be hurt. You're not giving yourself permission to be a victim. You're not giving yourself permission to be affected by the outgassing of another person, no matter what. Now, it doesn't mean that you're showing that on your face, because you realize they've got to get that stuff off their shoulder. And it also can be an entity that is causing them to react in such a way. And so you just instantly forgive, and you hold their eye contact, and you nod your head, and it's like you're part of the conversation, but you're not. You are, but you aren't. And you're never hurt, but you have extreme compassion. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, Chrism, thanks for expanding on that. You know, thank you. That yeah. Okay. Moving on to. Okay. Now, I know you said in this, were these questions helpful to somebody on the group, but I want to ask them because other people might be interested in these questions and what you'd say. Is Kundalini Brahman? How about the aspect of our own individual Kundalini? What term does that correlate with in the Upashand, that word?
Oh, wait a minute. This is Cole's line of questioning. Yeah, this is, no, I'm not going to,
Don't you want to? Oh.
Not really. I know you saw this as an easy opportunity. Oh, I can just ask him all these questions. What did I ask Cole? Go ahead, read that part.
As I started off by saying, you said you asked Cole, you mustn't have heard me introduce this. I said, you said to Cole, how helpful was this line of questioning for him? But I thought maybe other people would like to hear. So I haven't any of that written down. So I think he said it probably wasn't helpful. But it was a good long answer. I didn't read it, Chrism.
Basically, he said he needs to find that out for himself, and that it probably isn't helpful. And so I don't see why you're repeating that line of question would be helpful for other people. Okay, fair enough. I'm not here to feed curiosity. And I'm not here to go into. I'm not here to go into Indian terminology. I'm not here to go into, it's Kundalini Brahman, or, it's Kundalini the caste system. No. I'm not, that's just, God, look it up and make your own discernment.
Over?
That's why I didn't want to answer it. I just didn't really feel like getting into it because that's just, here's what it does. It forms a divide. So those people in India who think that Brahman's all about the Kundalini, and if I say it's not, well, boom, there's a divide. So it's really a form of competition that I don't really feel like engaging in. If you can see that.
Thank you I can, yeah. See, I think that's a great answer, but okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So now the next question. This sounds silly, but here goes. I'm trying to forgive everyone I know, including myself, for everything, and I've wrote my list of 15. Oh, gosh. How do you forgive someone if they are genuinely not a good person? He used a cuss word there.
Well, you first of all, you're not there to make a judgment. Okay, number one. If a person is saying, well, let me use somebody else on the chat room here. Let's see. Well, Michelle. God, you know that Michelle. She lives on the Gold Coast, It's just the worst place. Big spiders, weird venomous brown snakes. I mean, come on. What does that tell you about her? And so she's like, oh, my God, she's just the worst person. Well, who's going into judgment here? Who's going into judgment about Michelle? Because of her geography, and because, she has beautiful birds around her house. Who's going into judgment about that other person and saying, oh, they're really not a good person? What do you know about their karma? What do you know about why they're here? Now, granted, they could have killed people. They could be a criminal. But, there's always two sides to a coin. You don't forgive them for them, really. You forgive it for yourself. You free yourself from that attachment to whatever activity was perpetrated or was given, or that you were a part of, whether on the receiving or the sending. You detach from the judgment as well. And you realize that everybody walks this earth is an infant at one time, a pure infant, and that their karma and their environment have made them what they are. And they have made choices to support, whoever it is and whatever it is they are. And so you've got to realize that God works in very, very strange ways, and so does the Kundalini. And so you must give that forgiveness regardless of what your judgment is telling you. What are you doing, Amelia?
I just moved something, Chrism, there. Sorry.
That was a huge noise.
Woo! The first one in 6 weeks, maybe, though.
No, your heavy breathing comes through quite a bit too, but I wasn't going to say anything. I don't know why you'd be heavy breathing over there. Maybe John's nearby. So you remove yourself from interaction with the judgment, and certainly like negative judgment. Like, I have no problem saying, oh, Michelle, she is such a beautiful, wonderful, amazing person, and that's why she attracts these beautiful, beautiful birds around her place, around her house, and she's got that beautiful husky, and she's got a really, really nice situation, and that situation reflects the core inner areas of her beautiful self. I got no problem with that. But if it turns out to be the other way, well, then you know what? There's a lot of negativity in this world, and let's just stick to the positivity. If we have to make a judgment, let's make it a positive judgment.
Thanks, Chrism. Next question. What happens if a Kundalini Sorry?
Go ahead. I said, you're welcome.
Oh, what happens if a Kundalini person gets pregnant? Will that child also be born with Kundalini? Or if the carrier is suffering, will the child also suffer along with the mother?
No. Kundalini is very supportive of pregnancy. Pregnancy is not a bad thing. Nobody's going to suffer anything unusual. The child might have the Kundalini at a later date in its expression. And the mother will certainly go through levels of Kundalini activation or awakening during the birth process, during the birth trauma. And yeah, it's very supported by Kundalini, of course. Of course. Over.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see. You know, the interesting thing is this would be usually a segue into going to Rosemary and talking about the upcoming seminar, which there isn't one. I'm going to go over to Rosemary anyway, see if she has something to say here. Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
How you doing?
Well, I'm listening. I had some odds and ends to just do that don't take any thinking, and I was listening. And
so that translates into you're going to the bathroom, right?
No.
Don't defend yourself, Rosemary.
Yeah, that's right. I won't say anymore. I just that was said in, I don't know what source of being honest. Whatever. I'm listening to you and grateful because I missed last week. I was not.
You were at your sister's.
Yes, I was.
And you learned an important lesson at your sister's, and I'm going to thumbnail sketch it for you, okay?
Okay, you go right ahead.
So I'll put you in the blue here. And Rosemary learned a very important lesson, and the lesson is this. She went to a room in her sister's house, and she felt like three entities against the wall. And this is a room where the children are playing, and one of the kids has recently begun to develop a mental disability, and she was concerned that the entities were causing this. And none of her sisters are believers in the Kundalini. They're, it's not a. Yeah. Hang on a second. What is going on here? Okay, Lasha, come here. Jeez Louise, come on. Oh boy. None of her sisters really buy into the Kundalini at all because they don't really know about it at all. And so she went ahead and took the chance and told her sister, because if she didn't tell her sister about the entities she was feeling, then she would feel like she was, irresponsible and not informing her sister about it. And what she, is damned if you do and damned if you, and, if she didn't tell her sister, then she felt responsible that an entity was beginning to manipulate the mental health of a child. And if she did tell her sister, then other things could happen. Well, she went ahead and told her sister, and created a huge fear trauma with her sister. And the sister, not believing in that, I don't believe in what you're saying, and and created a great fear scenario. And it's like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I think that it's a very, very valuable lesson for anybody to learn. Anybody. Valuable lesson because you've got to go, in other words, you've got to let sleeping people sleep. You can't force Kundalini awareness on them at all. Even when you see a certain thing happening, you've got to trust that your Kundalini and your radiance is a permanent fixture of that room right now, just by you being in it. And by you being in it and you being the within the pure expression of the Kundalini, that alone can serve as a barrier against the child being harmed by discarnate entities. And the child also has a level of guidance and a level of karma that child must also begin to embrace. And so you don't spring Kundalini phenomena on people who are not prepared to receive it. And all it does is cause fear, trepidation, and a form of separation, say one family member from another. And this goes out to everybody. This is a very, very important scenario. And I want to thank Rosemary for allowing me to speak of it. It's very important that you let the sleeping people sleep. When it's time for them to begin to be able to engage Kundalini within themselves, then that information will have a greater impact on them, or less of a fearful one. And so thank you, Rosemary, for that. And I'm going to ask you, Santar, any last words?
Yeah, I do, Chrism. I usually give out the place where people can go to make a donation, but today I want to give the PayPal email address. So if people pay by PayPal, it's really simple, and you can go directly into your own PayPal account. And Chrism's email is Chris Mitchell, easy to remember, Chris Mitchell 369 @yahoo.com, and you can make your donation that way.
Chris Mitchell is all one word. It's not set.
Yeah, but it's an email address.
Chris Mitchell,
all lowercase.
Chris Mitchell 369.
Yeah, @yahoo.com. Yeah. And yeah.
Thank you for everybody that does that. It's very much appreciated, and allows us to do what we do. Any other last words?
No, Chrism, that's it. See everybody next week.
Same Kundalini channel, same Kundalini station. I would like to say thank you to everybody who's listened this far into the program, and to extend forgiveness to BlogTalk Radio for screwing up the first 5 minutes, as I have done, and to listen to this program. It's a very interesting program with regards to some of the forbidden subjects that were discussed, like slavery and stuff like that. And I want to say goodbye to everybody in the chat room. Thank you, Thomas, for coming on the show. Thank you very much, Michelle and Vicki. Thank you for letting me use you as examples, and thank you for being a great cat mom. Atlanta Seeker, and I will go ahead and I want to thank Amelia Santara Kundalini for the existence of this program, for allowing this program to exist, for paying money that this program is able to come to your ears, you, the people, the future people in the archives. You know, this show exists because of her generosity, and I just want to say thank you to you, Santara Kundalini, for doing this, and thank you for everybody that's called in, Joey and Rosemary and Katie. Katie, drive carefully when you're listening to us in that car, and I will go ahead and end it like I tried to start it. Here we go.